Hey, this is Cardi B. You're listening to The Man Room with Marcus Bridges.
People might actually believe that one.
Yeah, no shit. I'm pregnant.
Welcome to The Man Room.
Welcome to The Man Room.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Man Room podcast. I am your host, Marcus Bridges. Thank you for joining us in the Man Room today. You can find us everywhere that you find your podcast. Don't worry your pretty little head about it. If it's out there, we're on it, and that's why I don't go over this shit anymore. Look it up on Spotify. Give it 5 stars on Apple. Thumb it on YouTube. Do whatever you do to support the show, and we appreciate it. Of course, you can donate to us at themanroompodcast.com, and we appreciate every cent. Enough with that garbage. It's time to get to our guest today. Joining me, yet another fantastic local comedian from the Eugene area. I've been on this train. I've been beating this dead horse for over a month now, and just in time for pretty much all the shows to get canceled. So one way or the other, you can catch my guest, Jen J, on a stage near you. Thank you so much for joining me today, Jen.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here.
Oh, well, you know, it's coming from the very first time I saw you on stage at an open mic at Lucky's, I was like, that's a podcast guest. I knew it immediately.
Awesome.
I love your energy when you're on stage. You have and you're smiling right now. If you're not watching this on YouTube, you're missing out because you're always smiling and you bring that energy to the stage, and I absolutely love it.
Awesome.
So, you know, we're going to do this more than once, so don't get your fill today here.
You got it.
Now, I got to take my can out of the koozie because I do like to give it a little bit of love. You said I like tequila. I'm an IPA snob, but Tecate has been killing it for me this summer.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of IPAs on the show because that's my lane. We had some tequila before, which we'll get to. But we went ahead and did the old classic. Got some good old Tecate to drink today. And it's a really hot day and kind of warm up here, so I think this is going to be a good choice. Ooh.
It's good.
That's good. Just blow beer over your $500 microphone. Great idea, Marcus. So, Tecate this summer, is it something that you've drank a lot of in the past, or is it just like you found it this summer and it worked?
No. My employment, I've been a chef for the 20 years.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, for a long time. And so line cooking is a hot situation.
Yes.
Okay. Line cooking in the summer is basically hell on earth. And so, you know, it's a long-standing tradition amongst line cooks to have a beer with each other after work, after you've been in the trenches, literally the hot, sweaty trenches.
Right.
And so, you know, most of the year a boneyard or, you know, a nice IPA will do, but in the summertime, after line cooking, no, it's a Mexican lager is just it's just exactly what you need.
The bee's knees, if you will.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, if we're gonna date ourselves and say that we actually recognize that cliche. So line cooking. So you've been doing that for a long time, and as an actual chef, you said, so I've done some prep work in a restaurant, and I've worked as a waiter in a restaurant. One thing that I noticed, it's interesting that you say that. You're right. The cooks in the restaurant I worked at would go out to their little hole-in-the-wall dive bar, and they would just get absolutely annihilated after work. Yeah. And all the front house staff would go out to a different place, and that was more of like a club environment and a lot of energy, as you might imagine. But the two sides didn't mix very well. It was almost like they spent the entire day yelling at one another, which we did. And I'm going to come full disclosure here and say it's far from an expert was I. I was an Apple buddy. I worked at Applebee's. And so, it's pretty much the manager hated everyone, and so the front staff and the back staff hated each other, and that was just kind of the way that Applebee's worked. I'm sure they're not all like that, but how's your experience in the kitchen? Do you like the front staff? Do you hate them?
No, I love that when everybody is working together as a team and stuff like that. I love that. And definitely in the younger days, I would say that I was more of the yeah, fuck the front of house, like back of house, we're over here, we do the actual work, you guys just, deliver it on a platter, fuck you guys.
Right.
Especially like once they started getting in the management roles and stuff, yeah, no, you need everybody functioning,
Yeah, that's really true.
And if you got to foster the whole environment and not just the, back of house, what you love and what you're passionate about, like you really need everybody. You start to see the value once you become a little bit more invested in it yourself,
Sure. Sure.
And really what I always loved, especially, is when you do see the front of house and back of house together after work, having I'm not saying everybody, become total alcoholics together or anything like that, but a little bit of camaraderie after work, between both of them. That's when, okay, this is good. We're on the right track. Like we're building a weird work family,
right? Right.
And so I don't know.
It's definitely beneficial if they worked. If, everybody works as one because, and I feel like the food service gets a really bad, or the food service industry, gets a really bad rap as being like an easy job or an entry-level job, jobs that you could just go get. It's a high-stress deal, even working a lunch shift at Applebee's. That's all I used to work was the days, and I would walk out of that place more stressed than I would after, like, a live event that I would host for. What I was doing part-time in radio at the time. Mm-hmm. Being up on stage in front of thousands of people did not stress me out nearly as bad as some of those lunch shifts at an Applebee's, which... I think that once again, it's underappreciated, and I think the shift beer or the after shift beer is one of those things where everybody kind of pulls the pressure valve all at the same time, and they all leak it out. And now that this is all off our shoulders, we can go home and be normal with our family.
Totally, yes.
So it's
agreed.
But I will say, a lot of alcoholics.
Oh yeah,
there's also those too, because any high stress job you're going to find them.
It is. You're right. Like it is not without faults in the industry. Like there was I think that lots of the points of contention between front and back is like back of house shifts are minimum 8 hours long shifts in the hot situation.
Right.
And it's and to be able to cook, knife skills and things like that, like it's the same could be said for front of house. Selling is a skill, and customer service is a skill, but I don't know, like back of house definitely gets low wages, sometimes no tips, or the smallest portion of the tips for doing the lion's share of the work.
Right.
So like, and then once you add like coming up in the 90s, like I went to culinary school in Long Beach in California, and so that was like 97, 98 when I finished that, and so working in kitchens there, a lot of times I was the only female, and that you can't say that anymore, like there's so many women in the industry now, but back then there wasn't. Lots of times I was the only female, and like if you think everybody in general in the back of house gets the shaft, like women also get overlooked, get underestimated, and paid less.
Do you think
it's fucked?
Yeah, it is, and 100% agree. Do you think that's partly because people look at that environment that you're describing, how it's hot and it's 8-hour shifts and it's high stress, and they just think for some reason that it's got to be like a grizzled man back there to handle it, or what? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. It's something that I have wrestled with, my whole career doing it, because everybody, and it does. You don't have to put gender into it in order for it to be a shitty environment to work in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
you're flipping green chain at a mill, you're working on the line at a restaurant. It's a shitty environment, but it doesn't mean that a woman can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And can't
in
excel
both
at
environments, you'll find women. In every environment that exists, you'll find women being a part of that environment. So. I think it's a lot of societal gender norms, play into a role. And, here I am, in a different venue, talking about comedy and like my role in comedy, and here I am on the Man Room, talking about like divisiveness about gender and society, and giving a big fuck you to societal gender norms. But that's just you never know where you're going to be in life.
Well, and look, full disclosure, one of my guests on this podcast actually looked me square in the face and goes, "You started a podcast in the year that is 2020 called The Man Room. What the fuck are you thinking?" And I'll be honest with you, this is what I call this room, and so that's where the name came from. It's like, what's the Man Room? It's the place where I keep my beer fridge, my Xbox, and my blood pressure cuff. And I say that all the time.
I know. I heard on Angie's, and I was like, okay, cool. I get it. Like, this is how I can be totally cool with
what's going
on. And now that I'm here, I'm just like, yeah, okay, I get it. Like, I'm not mad at this. This is totally a Man Room, and it's like this totally makes sense for you, Marcus.
Good. I'm glad you think so.
Yes, I totally do.
It's one of the reasons when I first got like the Facebook page and the website, and I was putting all the information into Spotify and YouTube, in the description I kept saying everyone's welcome in the Man Room as long as you're not being a dick, because that's how I would feel if I was just talking to my friends up here.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, you're being a dick, we're not going to hang out up here anymore, we're going to go out, you got to go outside, you got to take a lap, we got to do something.
I love that.
The whole premise was just to, I actually started this podcast with the idea that I wasn't going to be able to convince people like yourselves to come in and do this. So I lined up 6 or 8 of my college buddies and was like, listen, if I can get one of you guys like twice a month, or if I can get, if I can get each one of you once a month, then we can do this weekly, and I'll just talk to you guys because we have a bunch of interest. But that would have got boring real quick because none of them are in the entertainment industry. None of them really want to talk about their work lives and stuff like that. Comedians, a lot of the times, that's what they focus on is comedy, and they're working so that they can do comedy, So I find a lot of comedians that have day jobs are more willing to come in here and just kind of openly chat. It's like one of my buddies was like, listen, he works for a large video game studio, and that's all I'm going to say, but he tells me horror stories of people getting fired for just like having one-on-ones with their friends, and their friend posted something on Facebook, and that guy's got to go now because that's sensitive information. So I'm sitting here with a podcast like, I can't even talk to you. Like, that's all the shit I want to talk to you about. So I kind of had to pivot from that idea to just, I do have a pretty big network from the radio and stuff like that where I'm connected with people, and I also meet a lot of people that do cool shit. Yeah. And so I kind of decided, instead of just me talking to my buddies, I'm just going to talk to all the people that I know that do cool shit. And I'm not going to have a super structured conversation. I'm going to come in and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the comedians that I have, all of you guys are fine with that idea. You're like, cool, whatever. Mm-hmm. The radio personalities, they needle me like you would never. So what are we talking about? What's the topic? What are we going to bring up? Who are we going to talk to? It's like, would you let me fucking host this thing? Just leave it alone. And that's just their nature, because dead air is you can't stand it in radio when there's a second of silence. And you can tell by listening to this show because I never shut up. So, but yeah, it really is. And I don't hesitate to explain to people why it is what it is, because I'm not calling it the Man Room because I'm trying to reinforce gender norms. It's because it's where I record it. And I didn't have a better thing to call it, to be honest with you. I'm not that creative. So
no, it's great. It totally makes sense.
If it's any consolation, I'm on another podcast called The Donkey Show Podcast, which is named after animal sex.
Right.
So we went out for drinks with one of my wife's coworkers last night and her husband, and he was talking about, because he used to listen to our old radio show, which was called The Donkey Show. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how he didn't know this.
I remember the Donkey Show being on.
Yeah. Is this like a 50-something-year-old man, and he just typed Donkey Show into his Google bar and was telling us about it and was like, do you guys know what comes up? And we're like, yeah, that was why we called it that. Congratulations. The joke just came full circle. And absolutely.
That's exactly what you want when you call something like that.
Exactly.
You want a 50-year-old, person to be like, oh, what is just Google it. how do I get to that one thing, the Marcus's thing or whatever? Ah!
Well, that immediately brought me to this story that happened to us. We were, when they started flying nonstop from Eugene to Las Vegas, they put us on a promo flight, and we got to go down and do the show from the Stratosphere. They have a radio
That is
studio up at the top
awesome.
of the Stratosphere.
You got to do the donkey show from
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
Oh my
Tanner,
God.
Drew, and
is so
I
cool.
and B-Rock all went, our stunt guy at the time. And we were staying at the MGM, and we just thought, we'll just walk to down to the Stratosphere, you know, because I'd only been to Vegas once, and I blacked out and got lost, and so I walked all over that damn city anyway.
Yeah.
I just figured every place was far, and we had, like, I don't know, probably 75 pounds of equipment that we were trying to pack with us, and it was, July, August in Vegas.
my
So
God.
we set off at, like, noon to go walk what ended up being, like, 6 miles or some crazy amount to get to the Stratosphere. And you know those guys that flick the cards in Vegas, the little porn cards? And they try to sell you hookers or whatever? Mm-hmm. Well, one of the guys was really aggressive, and we were walking past him, and he's like, what do you want? Man, women, transsexual, what do you want? Anything you want, I get it. And he's really at it, and we're just like, guys, it's okay, man. And we all walked past him, and we're like 10, 15 feet past this guy, and he goes, donkey show? And all 4 of us snapped around and turned. Well, Jen, he was talking about, like, an actual donkey show.
No way.
And he's like, you sick sons of bitches, you guys are nasty, you want to see a lady fucking donkey? We're like, no. And then we all just kind of looked at each other like, no way we explain this to this guy. Like, we're sweating, we're late, we've got equipment. So there's a guy somewhere in Vegas that thinks that there's 4 weirdos from Oregon that were really excited about none of the other weird stuff that he offered, but the animal sex part. That was what really got to us. So
wow.
It's always been the reason. But
you know what? Fuck that guy. Like, where the fuck is the donkey show? You know what I mean? Like,
if you know where it is, you're part of the problem, guy.
Yeah.
Like, if you're selling tickets to this thing, that donkey, God. That's my problem with it, is I just feel bad for the animals.
I know. Oh, yeah. That's not good.
So,
not good.
Let's talk about comedy a little bit,
Yes,
because
let's do it.
You have been on stage fucking everywhere. I see your name on almost every flyer that I see.
Yeah.
You've got some stuff coming up. If you're watching right now on YouTube, the Savage Henry Comedy Festival will be in Humboldt, California, October 7th through 9, correct?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Savage Henry, of course, Seth Milstein writes for Savage Henry and goes down, does
Jane
a lot
Malone
of those.
does as well.
Jane Malone, gotcha. I know that a lot of you guys have been going down to do that room in Humboldt.
Yeah.
You like it?
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And Chris Durant is the person who's heading up Savage Henry, and he is a total gem.
Yeah.
He's just a kind, sweet person, happy to make new friends, and just a really friendly, nice host. And he's funny, and he's got a very distinct laugh. And so when you're on stage, and he's always up at this, he's always in this one area of the comedy club, And so when you hear this, like, ha! thing that he does, like when you're on stage, it's like it's everything you can do to just not be just like, like you hear him, it's him,
You gotta answer that every time he does it. You should just be like, got him,
Yeah. I think I might have acknowledged it at least once because, it was really funny. But yeah, I feel like I've gotten very, very lucky, because I'm still in year one.
It's only your first year. You
yeah.
are shitting me right now.
No, I'm still in year one.
I don't profess to be any kind of expert, but I've been around a lot of comedians, and you are leaps, and nothing against any of these. There's a lot of good comedians you're on stage with too, but you were better in year one than what I've ever seen anybody be in year one.
Well, I'm going to suck by year 3, so,
isn't that what they say? Good by 1, suck by 3. You're doing it right.
Yeah, live fast, take a lot of chances, die young. I don't know. No, I hope that that's not true. I want to keep going. Like, I'm loving it so much. I'm loving it. I can't believe I waited this long to give it a whirl.
Has it something you've kind of always thought about your entire life?
Yeah. So I'll tell you the real deal is I grew up in Dallas, Texas, and my mom's best friend, my godmother, Jan Norton has, and her best friend, Linda Stogner, they have a comedy club in Dallas, and they've had it my whole life, the Backdoor Comedy Club. And
that's a great name.
Yeah.
That's a great name.
Yeah, and they've had it my whole life, and so growing up around Jan and Linda and various comedians here and there, and going to the club when I was younger, I gave comedy a whirl when I was 17 or so. But I think I only went up a couple of times, and then I moved to California at 18, and then when I would come back to visit, sometimes Jan would have me go up. I would go up once in a while, but and I always thought that I would give it a proper go, and life
just got in the way.
Yeah, life just never, and then I don't know, I'm just in a different place now. I don't think I'll ever work in another kitchen again. I have a joke about going into tech, but that's literally what I'm doing. I'm giving myself a great summer, and then I'm starting this tech boot camp, teaching myself how to code and stuff, and so that I can have a job that earns a salary so that I can fuck off and do comedy whenever I want. And maybe it'll be remote, so then I can, have income and go around and do comedy all over, the U.S. As long as it's safe to travel and I'm not going to get the plague.
Right. Which we have to talk about that too. That's something that we'll get to. But and see, that's amazing. In year one, you're already laying the groundwork to be able to be a traveling comedian, which most people in year one don't even get to think about.
I'm 43.
Really?
Know? Yes, I'm that old.
I never would have guessed that. You do not look 43. You don't act 43 either. Not to say that 43 is super old. I'm 36. I pegged you late 20s, early 30s. No joke.
Oh shucks.
No joke. I really did.
I'm old. So I gotta do this shit. You know what I mean?
Right. The time is now.
Yeah, I gotta make year one count. I gotta make it worth it. I'm gonna go hard, and as I possibly can, because I freaking love it.
Yeah.
I freaking love it, and I'm having so much fun doing it, and so I'm gonna put as much into it as I have to offer.
Okay. Yeah.
So
really pour yourself into it.
I am.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm gonna ball out.
I have to give you a tip of the cap too, because I mean. You see your prodigies like Bo Burnham start at 17 or something like that. How on earth could you have gone on a stand-up comedy stage? I hated myself at 17, and I was relatively okay with everything in my life. My parents treated me great. I was okay in school. I played some sports and had lots of friends and everything. But I can say right now, if you'd have put me on a stand-up comedy stage, I would have shrunk into a little bug, and they could have flicked me off the stage and just killed me right then and there, because
oh my God,
I was not comfortable with myself at all. And it took I wasn't even comfortable with myself when I got into radio. It took me, I was just telling you before we went on the air, it took me 3 years to be able to wear my headphones because I couldn't stand the way that my voice sounded. And I'm worried about that bottle of tequila that you're trying to open there, because you said it was like rocket fuel. I don't want that cap to shoot off and hit you in the face.
No, it won't. It's connected. It's all connected. I just can't really remember how to do this.
We are having some tequila today too.
Yes.
If you're watching, we're struggling with it, but we're gonna have it. And you said this was from the only master, the only
give it a whirl?
the only female master tequila
Yes,
producer?
so I'll talk about this tequila so you can all see it. It's Lagretona Tequila, and it's made by Nelly Cardenas is her name, and she's the only female master tequila maker in Jalisco, Mexico.
I got it.
Yay, you got it.
You mind if I pour a little for me?
Go ahead, yeah.
I'm going to have it with just a little ice and a little tiny water, because I'm not a
Perfect.
huge straight tequila guy.
Yeah.
I normally mix it in a margarita.
This is actually a great margarita tequila.
Okay.
Because, like I said earlier, I've been very excited to try it, and I had to go. I had to just order it online because nobody's selling it anywhere. So
this is technically imported tequila.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cheers. Thank you.
Cheers. Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Actually, chilled, it's so much better than. So, anyways, if anybody else gets it, you want it chilled, you want it in a margarita. That's the kind of tequila that it is.
It's good though. I mean, that's not a bad
Right.
sip of tequila. It didn't have. I was afraid of the burn on the back end,
Yes.
but it didn't have that.
When
so.
it's chilled, it doesn't. It takes that sting away. But
Okay.
room temperature, it's got a real jetpack situation. So you want it chilled, you want it in a margarita. That's my official review.
That's some of that line. That's some of that line cooked tequila right there. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
So, while we're still on the subject of comedy, of course, I want to get to the shows that you've got coming up besides
Sure.
Savage Henry. But I know just this weekend you were down at Pride in the Park.
Yeah.
And is that Alton Baker? Is that where they hold that in
Alton
Eugene?
Baker, yeah.
How'd that go?
It was so fun. So I actually am usually on the Pride board too, at least for the last couple years. But then I got so busy, I didn't have an official role or anything this year. I just was attending the meetings, trying to help with whatever I could. Yeah, I got really busy doing comedy, so it's a good thing I didn't have a role this year.
Well, you were
But-
the funny maker. That was your role,
there you
right?
go. Yeah. Yes, Temple had me on. Temple hosted the comedy hour, the stand-up comedy hour, and so I was part of that. And it was really cool this year. They had the whole Alton Baker Park, whereas they usually only have the area, like the grassy area, in the area with the structures. But this year it was way bigger.
That's good.
And spread out way more.
So you don't get hit by a frisbee golfer or something like that,
Right.
hopefully.
Yeah, and there was 2 stages this year. There was the main stage and then the community stage where the comedy was.
Okay.
And it was really, really fun. It was incredibly hot.
I can imagine. It was brutal yesterday.
Yeah.
And
it
how was the smoke?
Incredibly hot.
You
The
got-
smoke wasn't that bad.
That's good.
I actually didn't even really notice it until I was on my way home.
Yeah.
And I feel like it started to roll in kind of late yesterday.
Yeah, it'll do that. And it's
Yeah.
choking off the whole state right now. It's just varying degrees of bad wherever you go. So
Yeah, I have a friend who lives in Medford, and she's hating it.
yeah.
She's hating it right now.
it's terrible down there. But I heard one of them, the bootleg fire, 100%
Yes.
contained today.
All right.
Yes, good job, firefighters.
Way to go. Cheers.
We appreciate firefighters. I was approached to be a wildland firefighter when I was in high school by the dude with the biggest hands I've ever seen, and he shook my hand, and I thought he
Wow.
broke it. And I'm just like, he's like, you want to make $36,000 this summer? And as a 16-year-old, I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, come out and fight wildland fires. I'm like, fuck no. What are you thinking? Look at me.
Jeez.
Like, I've got on DCs right now. You think I'm going to go... I mean, yeah, I like to hunt and everything like that, but I don't want to go out and fight Mother Nature. Like, I'm not cut out for that shit, you know? And so I tip my cap to those guys. I know a guy that's a smoke jumper. Like, he gets in a plane and he parachutes into forest fires.
Oh my God.
I know, right? It just makes you, like,
Wow.
it makes you quiver thinking about it, though.
Yeah.
And he's like, this dude is, I mean, he's worked, kind of Forest Service jobs his whole life. Like, he's probably the best out in the bush that there is. And he chooses to parachute into forest fires. I mean,
That is amazing. I tip my hat to that guy.
Yeah, right.
Whoa. Seriously, that's insane. Eugene comic, James Manning III, he did forest fires last year.
really?
Yeah, it was last year. Yeah.
Wow. Hats off to
Pretty sure.
him.
Like, now I'm like, oh, God, was that last year or was that? No, it was. It was last year.
Yeah, probably. The year that the whole state almost
Yeah.
burned down makes sense that they
Yes.
were. I'm surprised they didn't have a draft. And I will
Yeah.
dodge that shit. If you try to have a wildland firefighter draft, I'm headed to Canada until it's
Yikes.
done because
Seriously.
you don't want me out there digging holes in the woods. I'm not your guy. I'll be screwing off. I'll find a bird and follow it.
Yes. Yeah.
I just don't. I have an appreciation for people that do those jobs that are almost like those calling jobs where it's like you have to have something inside of you that tells you that you're meant to do that, and because it's for the greater
Yes.
good and not for yourself.
Yes.
Firefighters in general, frontline medical staff, all those
Hospice
people.
nurses,
Yes,
like,
I mean,
yeah.
one of them that I feel like is kind of underappreciated and not mentioned enough is respiratory therapists.
Oh, totally.
When
Yeah.
my grandma and grandpa both suffered from dementia, they had horrible respiratory issues just because their brain doesn't fire off the correct breathing and everything like that. And
Yeah.
those respiratory therapists once they got in there and worked with them, actually like seriously changed the outlook for like, at least if nothing else, just the comfort that they had for the last bit of their life there. So you'll hear me, and look, I say it about police officers too. I know that police officers right now is a very sensitive subject, and I don't like to split hairs on it. There's bad people in every profession, and I think that the good cops out there. I listened to a podcast called Small Town Dicks. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of that, yeah.
It's Yardley Smith who did the voice for Lisa Simpson.
Yeah.
And she actually has 2 twin detectives that are from Springfield, Oregon, and they join her on it under pseudonyms. And you can tell, like, these guys cry all the time when they're talking about the cases. And so you can tell that these guys are the type of guys that we need on a police force, and I just, vast appreciation for that. So now I got to shake James Manning III's hand, like, in a different way.
Yeah.
Even though I kind of feel douchey for thanks for doing that for me. It's like, I don't know. He's definitely doesn't seem like the type of guy that's going to be, looking for that type of thing. But,
right, no.
I always feel like I should say something, right? Because it's not me. Like, if it wasn't him, it might be me.
Yeah, I have the gratitude for, for anybody who can do that. I mean, it's literally putting yourself right in danger.
Right. And it's same way with kitchen staff. To be honest with you, I couldn't do that. I fancy myself as an okay tailgate chef. I make some wicked smoked meats, but I'll also cut myself every now and then.
Oh, I never cut myself. Not even once.
Oh, man. So you've got another show coming up in September, and I'm waiting for the flyer to come up here on the actual slideshow. But tell me about the show in September.
Okay. So the show in September is it's at Alluvium, which I'm intrigued by this venue, and I don't think I want those on anymore.
Okay. Don't worry about it.
So it's at Alluvium, which is this place that all I know really about it is that it's used to be a church, or in some way is still a church, but it's not like a Jesus-y church. It's more of a like new, like I don't know. It's some other kind of woo-woo church of some sort. I don't know.
Seth Milstein described it as hippie church to me.
That's great. I wish I would have thought of those words, because I think that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that it is some sort of a house of worship, or whatever you want to call it, some kind of sacred place. And I think it's kind of creative that they're like willing to do kind of anything to keep themselves going, probably, and to foster community in some way.
Only serving wine and crackers. I'm sure that's the only refreshments, right?
I don't even know. Probably there might not be anything. Like, I really don't know. But
great acoustics. There will be that. You will have the best sounding voice in that place that you've ever heard yourself sound. I mean, it's one thing you can say about every church. You're like, is this me talking? I feel like I'm echoing right now.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, high ceilings, which is weird because a lot of comedy clubs, they do low ceilings.
Right.
But those high steepled ceilings like that are really good for acoustics. I mean, it's just it's the way it goes. So
I can't wait now. Like, it's gonna be. I am looking forward to it. It's gonna be really fun. But it's David Ledbetter, also Eugene comedian, is producing this show.
Awesome.
And the idea is, so if anybody who knows or doesn't know David Ledbetter, he is a really great guy. He's got a lot of integrity. He is an activist and a comedian, and just, I don't know, a person that I hold with a lot of regard for integrity. And so he's putting on this show with the hope that there will be proceeds to donate towards houselessness in our community. And I don't know who all is out in the world, but in Eugene, like, our houseless situation is...
it's the situation in town. I would say it's very fair to say that the biggest situation we have is that.
Yeah, I would say that you're right. I mean, COVID is all the bars, I guess, all the downtown bars closed last night because there's... I'm not really sure if it's just because of cases being on the rise or if there was a legit, some sort of COVID scare or whatever. So COVID is a thing, but really none of that pales in comparison to our houseless situation.
Right.
And it also, both things contribute.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So,
they're one's going to make the other one worse, or vice versa.
So
all day.
I'll do some comedy in support of, even who knows how this might help or whatever. But if there's a possibility that it could, I'm for it. Let's do it.
A few dollars in the pockets of somebody that's going to do something good is never a bad thing. And
yes.
If you're sitting here talking about David like that, I can only imagine, that he's a great guy. I think I've just met him in passing at a couple of mics or something like that. But funny dude too. Always got some
funny.
great jokes.
Funny.
I mean, and literally dip your hand into the field of comedians at every open mic in Eugene and just grab one blindly, and you can say that about him, which is.
I totally agree.
I used to,
cool.
We used to run an open mic about 7 years ago, and it was the venue wasn't great. We were at the old Taylor's when it was still open on a Monday night, so we're not out there performing for the masses. We get that behind us right away, but a good night was 10 comedians. Like, we thought we had a really good turnout if 10, maybe 15 showed up. And it's like I was telling Angie last week, I get there at 7:30 to sign up at 7:30, and there's already 15 people on the list.
Yeah.
And there's 20 more waiting behind me.
Yeah.
So I'm bummed, beyond bummed, that we're having this type of influx of talent during these 2 years.
Yeah.
Because it's like I said, like I'm on this kick where I've had a bunch of you in consecutively to talk about Eugene comedy specifically. And the last couple, it's been like, well, I don't really have that many shows to plug because everything's getting pulled, and it's like, all I can say is you got to look for these people. If you're listening to this and you're wondering, go to their social media, go find Jen J on, Facebook, Instagram, all that. Mm-hmm. And if you've got something going on, you're going to have it up there. And we'll definitely link your profile in the description of the show so people can go find it, because one thing I do know about Eugene comedians is they're a creative bunch of people, and a lot of them are going to find a way to still be doing comedy, even if it's not on a live stage, whether it be outdoor. Chaz Logan Hyde, for instance, has got, all those Instagram videos where he's just doing stand-up for a camera, which I absolutely think is amazing, and it scares the holy shit out of me, because who's there to approve of me? That's the only reason I do this, is because I want everybody to like me, and there's nobody there to like me. Like, I'm bad, that's the first thought. But I watched it, and it's fucking funny, and it's a funny dude that figured out a way to do comedy when there was no comedy, and you guys will all have stuff like that. I mean, the outdoor venues is cool, because I know, even Pride at the Park, that was all outdoor.
Yeah.
There's stuff like that happens that we'll be able to go on.
So there, everybody, all the comedians that were at Pride, just a few of us, Temple the Bard, Eric Sparks, David Ledbetter, and myself were talking about doing something outside, like planning something outside for soonish, because it's not, we're down to the one open mic in town, the outdoors one.
The outdoor one, yeah.
Which is actually the Slice mic. Way to go on that one, Seth Milstein. Got to give you props for getting the Slice mic started. I'm telling you, it is pretty fun.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, I've had one bad night, which has been more than publicized on this show, and I don't care to talk about it again, but I got it out of my system.
Yeah,
and I think that was probably a bad night for more people than just me. I didn't stick around to see how it ended up, but it was, it is honestly one of the best. Like, when I first went down there, I had gone to the Lucky's open mic, and then I saw that Seth was doing this. I was just trying to start getting back into it, because I hadn't been on stage in 5, 6, 7 years.
Oh, wow.
And so I started to, and honestly, the reception that I got at the Slice mic, because the first open mic that I went out to was April 20th, 420.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about a sleepy crowd, go out at 9 o'clock and do stand-up on 420. Nobody was awake. And it, that didn't build confidence in me. Let's just put it that way. It actually kind of was like, wow, maybe I should have just stayed off stage after. Went to Slice and got a really good reception for probably not very good jokes. And I was like, okay, like if nothing else, I can come down here and have a slice of pizza and try to do this once a week, So I really like that, Mike. And of course, Seth. I mean, he's, how could you not like Seth Milstein?
I know.
It's just such a fucking great dude. And
he is a great dude.
The way that he is kind of trying to homogenize the comedy community in Eugene and make sure that, like, you know, he and I have had little conversations where he's like, I don't want it to be cliquey. Like, we can't do that. We don't have enough pie to split between different cliques. We all need to eat the same pie, you know? Which sounded weird when he said that, but I was like, I'll eat the same pie as you, so. Only if you're there. But
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really encouraging. And like I said, we've talked about it ad nauseum now for 4 weeks in a row. If you're sleeping on it, that's your fault at this point, because Eugene comedy is a thing, and it's rapidly growing into something much bigger than I think Eugene comedy has seen in decades. So
it's awesome. I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Well, and, you're a kind of a flagship part of it. Like I said, your face is on just about every poster that I see. So you're more than a part of it, sister. You're running the goddamn show, you know, which is awesome. So that is, one more time, Alluvium. Alluvium, and that's down in the Whitaker district,
it is,
like 3rd Street, I think.
It's in the Whit, yeah.
Yep.
I can't think of the address off the top of my head, but
it's on the video feed. If you're watching this on YouTube, you've seen it 18 times by now.
Perfect. Yeah. So that'll be Alluvium September 10th. I'm just looking forward to it.
Just looking forward to it.
Fun, yeah.
Well, it's a great time to segue into this now, because you were actually supposed to come on the show a few weeks ago. I had a little bit of a scheduling conflict, and then the whole world just went upside down for you. So tell us about your adventure. I know your last few weeks have been kind of crazy.
Yeah, they've been super weird. I had gotten the cool, how do I even start the story? Jane Malone actually put me on. She does this Bad Girls show thing, and it's usually like her, Gabby, Jesus, sometimes Sienna Jade. Excuse me. And so she was doing it in Eureka.
Pull that mic just a little closer to you. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, sure.
There you go. That should do it.
So we were. So she was doing this show in Eureka at Savage Henry, and she needed to add somebody to the bill, and I had messaged her about something else. And she was like, oh, actually, hey, I got this show coming up, this Bad Girls show, and I need one more person. Do you want to come with? And I was like, what? And I was like, oh, that's so cool, because it was 2 nights in Eureka, and I've heard so many great things from Seth and Chaz and everybody about Savage Henry, and I'd already gotten Chris Durant already had added me to performers for the festival, and so this was a chance to go and get lay of the land too, before October. And so I was so excited to be asked, and me and my bestie went down to Eureka and had a great time. I killed, and
imagine that.
And had great shows both nights. So much fun. I got to sign the wall. There's a sign the wall thing. This guy, Patrick Rutherford, he takes pictures. He's just, I don't know, I think he's just a local guy who likes comedy, and he's a really great photographer. And so actually the profile picture on Facebook right now is a picture that he took. He took these great photos and just gave them to me. And
I saw there was like almost 50 of them. I was stalking your page a little bit for for pictures today, and I was like, God damn, did she set that? So you didn't set that guy up?
No,
he just did that.
He just did that.
That's amazing.
And then just gave me the pictures. Patrick, if you're out there, thank you so much. I really appreciated those pictures. They're so awesome. But then on the way home, I started to feel a little congested, and I just thought, because it was hot as hell here, and then it's actually cold there. It was 60 degrees.
That's weird.
I know.
That's not making sense at all. That whole state's on fire, too. It should be warm down there, too.
No,
right?
It was cold. It was cold. And so I don't know. Sometimes, when I go cold and hot, my body is just what's happening? We're going to get congested, and you're going to get bronchitis. And, that happens to me pretty much once a year. And so I just thought that I was oh, fuck, I'm getting bronchitis, So I was I need to see the doctor. I take the antibiotics and get this done, and then I don't have to be sick anymore, And so I called the doctor, and they're like, okay, well, if you really want to see the doctor, you need a COVID test. And I was like, okay. So I go, I get the COVID test. I'm waiting for the results, quarantining in my house because I basically have all the symptoms of COVID,
Right.
even though I'm pretty sure that it's not. I think it's bronchitis, And so then I get the test back, negative. The same day that I get that, for the last 2 years, I managed Spectrum, the gay bar in Eugene, and my first time doing a job that wasn't line cooking, and but then when I started to feel ready, they weren't ready to give me a date yet, so I ended up being like, okay, well, I'm not going to come back, but you should hire my brother Christopher, and they did, and so Christopher's getting Spectrum ready to reopen at the same time, and their date was going to be like August 1st was when they wanted to reopen, and the week before, one of the employees got sick and said, "Hey, I just took a test and I'm positive for COVID."
Oh no!
So they hadn't worked with that person for a few days or whatever, but still,
you're still exposed.
It was like everybody had to stop, can't reopen. Everybody's got to quarantine until their test results come back.
Oh my God!
So then our whole household, my brother and his husband are quarantined in their room. I'm quarantined in my room, and we're just doing our best not to cross because we have to separate. We got to quarantine and be separate somehow.
Right.
So so that was really fun, and then they were all negative, and then and I'm negative and everything, but then my doctor is like, actually, what you have is it's like reactive airway disease or something. It's basically fancy asthma,
Yeah.
She's like, this is not bronchitis. This is fancy. You're basically having a 2-week-long asthma attack.
Oh, that sounds really fun.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right. Shortness of breath.
And she's like, have you been smoking? And I'm like, God damn it, this bitch, like, shit. And
don't you understand why you don't ask questions that you don't want to hear the answer to, doctor?
Oh, come on, Mom. Don't make me tell you. So I was like, I have, but, since I haven't smoked since I got sick, it's been 8 days or whatever.
8 days, 4 hours, 3 minutes, and 28 seconds.
8 days. And she's like, if you can just not, I'm like, I was going to ask you for like Chantix or something to help me quit. And she was like, well, actually, like, if you can just wait 4 more days, then all of your nicotine receptors basically shut off after 12 days without smoking. And then you're out of the physical addiction part of it. It's just the habit that you have to break.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I can do 4 more days because I still feel like shit, And I did, and I'm up to 21 days now.
Nice job.
21
Congratulations.
days. And I'm never going back. I can't because I'll die,
right.
But I got myself some cinnamon toothpicks.
Oh, okay. That helps.
Yes.
Something to have in your mouth, just kind of chew on. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Because it's not it's weird because when I smoke cigarettes, it's normally in Las Vegas. I have this thing where it's like I'm in Vegas, they're letting me smoke in here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to do it while I'm here, when in
Absolutely.
Rome type thing. And what I do realize is really the part about it that is the worst for me is that the idea, like I'm a cannabis user. I'm smoking, and if I get into a thing where I'm smoking a lot of weed, which I try not to do, but it's more about just the physical act of having something to draw on and something in your lips and something in your hand.
Yeah.
And the physical addiction, be damned. I'm sure it's there, but it's not the thing that I notice the most as just the habit, like the doctor said.
Yeah, the habit.
So it's really weird that that's how that is because. Isn't it the most addictive drug out there? Isn't nicotine like at the top of that list? And all of a sudden,
aside from sugar, probably.
Yeah, probably. And all of a sudden, the thing that I can't get over is the fact that I like something in my hand. It just seems so backwards, but it's true.
It does.
But congratulations, it's not an easy thing to quit.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. I think I'm gonna make it. Like, I think I'm gonna be okay.
Good for you.
I've never said that.
Yeah.
Other times that I've quit, I've never once ever said that or felt like that. But I really feel like I'm done with it. You know. So
that's good. Well, it's it's tough being in the stand-up community too because there's a lot of smokers in the stand-up community, and a lot of times it's funny with certain open mics or certain shows. It's like one guy will do his set, and you can tell that kind of a lot of people were there waiting, and then all of a sudden the room clears out but only for like 7 or 8 minutes. And then everybody comes back in all at the same time. We're like, oh, 48% of this audience smokes cigarettes, and you just went and had one together. I get that, you know? If maybe we could have a schedule and you guys can go out one at a time, it'd be great for the performers.
Yeah.
But who am I to say? It's funny because I got to tip my cap to your brother in this situation a little bit, because the day that you were supposed to come in here, he told you, like, what are you doing? You can't go in there. You're sick.
That's right.
And you didn't, you came and told me, and like, first of all, you were so apologetic and everything, and it's something that's totally out of your control. So I didn't hold any grudges or hard feelings about it. But I mean,
I forgot that happened. Yeah. And that was so weird because like that's very telling as to like how shitty I felt. You know, like I was feeling so bad that like somebody hit me up to do a thing, and I was like, yeah, I can totally do that. And then I was like, oh yeah, hey, I'm going to do this thing. And he was like, what do you mean you're doing a thing? Like, you're fucking sick as shit. And I'm like, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't do a thing, you know, like it's my brain.
The brain fog is fucking real when you get sick like that. I mean, and I don't understand why. It's like, my lungs aren't working right and my nose isn't working right, but my brain is relatively secluded up here. Why can't I just think, you know? It's like I'm not taking cold medicine.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I forgot that aspect to the, you know, like I totally forgot about it.
Yeah, this podcast should already be 2 weeks old, to be honest with you, but it's, you know, but I'm just glad we were able to actually get it done, and more than anything, I'm glad to hear that you're safe. You didn't end up with COVID, and neither did your brother and his partner, because, I mean, it's all of a sudden it's real again. It was like it was real for a whole year and change, and then it wasn't real anymore. And now it's real again all of a sudden, and I really don't know how to handle it.
It is. I feel like nobody really does. And but you know, one of the things that's not working for me is when people say, "Well, if you're vaccinated and you get it, the vaccine's going to protect you from getting too sick." Okay, that might be true, but like, I don't want to fuck around with the, you know, like I don't want to, you know, I
who's
don't
rolling
know.
those dice? Yeah, who's rolling those dice?
That seems very subjective and not a real answer to any kind of problem.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think as an individual, your responsibility, like if you went and you got vaccinated, awesome. But even if you do get it, like the problem here is a lot of these vaccinated breakthrough cases aren't showing symptoms very well. And that doesn't mean just because you're vaccinated, you can't give it off to the next person
that's
and propagate
my thing
it,
too,
you know? So it's like...
And nobody's talking about the people who already have compromised immune systems, you know?
Which they were the ones that were at the highest risk all along since the very beginning of this thing. Those are the people we needed to be worried about the most, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's... The other thing, too, is it's like... We got to go back to some semblance of normal life right around when the summer and like the weather was getting nice and everybody was going to get outside. And I think right now what's happening is you're still at this tail end, like flying high bit of summer where everybody's out on their last camping trips and their last vacations. And what is happening is you're telling them they can't do it anymore. So people are getting very upset. They don't want to listen to it. They don't want to, they think in their mind, because all they know is that, oh, it's another year and change of this bullshit. And it's like, you know, really, if we're smart about it with what we know at this point, it shouldn't necessarily take that long if everybody just kind of plays a part, you know, and is individually responsible. That's been my thing the whole time with COVID is like, can you just be responsible for yourself, and not just yourself in the body that you inhabit, but yourself and the effect you might have on everybody else, you know? And for me, I've always said, like, one of my things that I tell my wife all the time is when I'm out in public, the last thing I ever want to do is make a dent in someone else's day. Like, I don't want to drive like an asshole. I don't want to cross the street when I'm not supposed to. I don't want my damn dogs to bark. I just don't want to fuck up somebody else's day. If somebody fucks up mine, it actually probably wouldn't bother me as bad as if I did it to somebody else. And so I kind of feel like my whole mindset with COVID has been like right along those lines. Is like, look, if I just take care of my shit, I won't mess with anybody else's shit. And that way I don't have to go home at night and be worried about it, you know, because it's a very selfish thing when it all comes down to it, because I'm just not going to sleep and I'm going to have anxiety. I'm going to pour over it like any probably stand-up comedian that constantly
Right?
seeks approval, you know. But it's amazing to me. It's such a tough time in our country right now.
Yeah.
There's so much division and so much, fight. Actually, I just watched a movie last night with Russel Crowe called Unhinged. Have you seen that? It's just about road rage, and basically this guy who was already having a real bad time goes on like kind of a tantrum through road rage, and it's without giving too much away. One of the things that they really drive home is they're playing in the opening credits a bunch of news clips about how everyone is on edge and how like road rage is upticking after the pandemic and violence and all these other things. And it's like, that was just a movie, but it was clearly a movie that they made in 2020. And now fast forward to, late 2021 and it's worse. Mm-hmm. It's not getting any better. And now we're talking about one of the things that made it where it is today, which is locking everybody down. And so it's like, it's uneasy right now. Like you can cut the tension with a fucking butter knife out there. And that's another reason I don't want to mess with anybody's day. I don't want to get punched. Like if I accidentally step on somebody's toe, who knows what's going to happen these days.
It has been very, very tough. Like even like, I feel like when things reopened, and especially in Eugene, when we got 3 open mics back, it was glorious, and you're able to go and see your friends and have fun, and all of that was so great. And then the tension has started to rise, and just being in downtown is you can just feel it.
Sketchy.
Yeah, and one of the nights, there was the shooter.
Yep.
I had just said goodbye to everybody at the Drake, and I was walking. I was parked near Starlight, so I was walking over there, and I actually walked into Starlight to pass through because I prefer that versus the creepy alley.
Yeah, right.
And
good call.
As soon as I walked in, I think is when that shooting happened.
Wow.
And I didn't even know that it had happened. I found out about it the next day.
And it was right next to you, right? That was right there on that block.
Yeah, I was like, what? That happened basically right after I shut the door. It must have. Yeah, so it's pretty wild. Stuff like that happening has just been more often, and
Yeah, people are just on edge, and that's just it. You never know, even in a city the size of Eugene, and this is only more so true the bigger the city that you get in, but you really don't know who you're talking to. And it's we've always said that about the internet, but we've all lived on the internet for the last year, so that's life now. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like I said, that movie, it all comes from a guy that doesn't start driving at a green light. And so she honks her horn, but she doesn't give him the courtesy tap. She burn, and all of a sudden Russel Crowe's killing people. And it's the way that it kind of sums it all up is almost eerily.
We're all one honk away.
Exactly.
From just loosen it.
Yeah. One dumpy Volvo honks its horn at a dude, and all of a sudden there's hammers and butter knives in people's backs. That happens in the movie. It's
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's something else. But I watch it. I would say to everybody listening, because it might kind of, even though it's not that great of a movie, to be honest, I'm not thinking it needs any awards. Russel Crowe's definitely done better. It still kind of puts it out there in front of you to see how easy it is for somebody to just fucking lose it. And especially in the society that we've all lived in over the last year, and everybody's got an opinion about everything and almost nobody agrees. And so there's a lot of that, social media type fighting and stuff like that. It's just a really weird time. And it is. It's been hard to look at it from the inside and say we're going through a giant transition socially right now, and we don't really know where it's going to end up. Yeah. And the only thing we can do is look at other times in history when this has happened in other places and even in the United States, and hope to God that it comes out on the good side and not the bad side. Sometimes you sit back and you look at everything on fire and riots and people killing each other. It's are we right on the brink of collapse, but we've done so well with capitalism that people don't see it? It's well, we still got all this money. I mean, Bezos has got $240 billion, so something's going right. Because I
don't know. I mean, it definitely seems to me like end-stage capitalism. You know?
Shit's on fire.
Yeah, everything's on fire, and the rich people are doing stupid shit with their money.
Flying dicks to the moon.
Yeah, flying dicks to the moon. Yeah. Yes, I think that you're right. This is end-stage capitalism. I mean, I I don't know. Like, I don't know what happens next,
I was watching a YouTube video today, Jen, before you got here, and they were trying to quantify Bezos's wealth in comparative terms that, you and I, the layman, can understand. So the one that stuck with me, and it really stuck with me, I've been thinking about it all day. If you were somehow immortal and you were born on the same day at the same minute that they started the calendar at 0, so right when Christ died, basically, moving forward, if you made $8,000 an hour for every hour between that day and 2020, when that video was made, you would still not even have half of what Jeff Bezos has. Isn't that fucking amazing?
That is so disgusting.
$8,000 an hour for every hour for 2,020 years, and you still don't have the kind of money that this guy does. And then they started doing it like they were saying like by the minute and by the second. So like by the first minute of the day in a regular year, Jeff Bezos has made more in the first minute than the average female college educated. And in like the first minute and like 15 seconds, he's passed the average male college educated. And then after like 4 minutes, he's passed like Beyonce and like all these people and what they'll earn in a year. And it's like, man, you could fly a dick to the moon. That's cool and all, but now that you've done that, can you maybe spread just a little bit around? Like you could
solve
fix
world hunger.
You really could. You could fix something like homelessness in Eugene is not something to be worried about.
You can solve that without
snap of a finger.
Yeah, without. Oh my God.
It's a fucking tax write-off, right? At this point, it's like he's got all those to begin with. Can't you just? I don't know, man. And my wife brought it up. She's like, hey, it's interesting that Gates' wife and Bezos' wife both left him in the same year. It's like, well, hopefully they took enough of that chunk that they can go do something good. It seems like that's kind of what Bezos' ex wants to do. So, good on them. But Jesus, it really is. If it's not in-stage capitalism, we're past in-stage and we're into like the downloadable content section.
Right? Oh my God. Let's roll the credits already. Let's do the next thing. I don't know what it is, but socialism, I don't know.
Barter. There was this one time we were at a Blink-182 concert, and my buddy didn't want to get his shirt signed by Mark Hoppus, and so he pulled off his shoe, and he had him sign his shoe. And later on, we had Cottonmouth, and I'm not going to tell you why because we were only like 16 at the time, but we really wanted some gum. And these girls were sitting behind us, and they had a pack of gum, and so we traded his Mark Hoppus shoe for the gum, and he just walked around with one shoe on, and I was like, that really worked well. Like, he had something he didn't really care about, something we really needed at the time, and we just made a switch.
Yeah.
They've got some dude's shoe with Mark Hoppus's autograph on it, and they're happy, and we don't have Cottonmouth anymore.
That's great.
It doesn't seem that hard to wrap your head around, But
yeah, it's a pretty easy concept. Yeah, I like it.
But meanwhile, I mean, I don't know.
If you think about all the systems are fucked.
It really is kind of like that.
The healthcare system is terrible.
That one's been bad for a really long time.
It
yeah,
has,
and it was like we tried to make it better, and then we just kind of fucked it worse. It's like
it's so bad.
And
so bad.
yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people. It's amazing to me because I've had a mini career in the cannabis industry. I was in it for over 5 years. And there's still people across the United States serving like life terms for selling weed too many times, And it's like, can we maybe talk about prison reform a little bit?
Right.
And, getting some of these people that didn't do anything that really matters. Like, you can have user amounts of fucking heroin and meth in this state. And if you're going to do that, okay, it's fine. If that's what you think is better for the future of the prison population. But I will say, like, can we maybe rethink some of the people that are losing their lives because of it? If it's legal for everybody to do now, because I remember the first year of legalized cannabis, it was like, you can have 1 gram and you can, and now it's like, you couldn't get a Eugene police officer to even do a double take if you were smoking the newspaper blunt from Woodstock 99. Like,
I would really like to smoke that.
They don't. Have you seen that documentary?
No, I haven't.
Not the new documentary that came out.
Yeah.
But it's the old one that was like right after, and it was like during Green Day. It was a dude that had it all rolled, and they were lighting it with like a blowtorch.
Yeah.
I think you could smoke that at Pride in the Park yesterday. You could have lit that up in the middle of the event, and people would have been like, "Yeah, woo!"
Totally.
10 years ago, you would have gotten tackled and beaten in the streets.
Yeah,
and
I know.
It's a fucking plant, man. I mean, it always amazed me because it's the best money I've ever made working in the cannabis industry. It was very I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is. Lucrative. Yeah, fruitful, lucrative. It paid well, and it paid, especially if you wanted to work hard. And I'm I'm putting more money in the savings account than ever. I'm buying things for me and the wife. You know, we're taking vacations. It's like there's people in jail, like at prison, hard time in prison, max security prisons, probably getting raped in the showers every day, or getting hit with the lunch tray like horrible. In Oz. And here I am, doing better than ever, selling it to the demanding public. It's I don't know. It's hard to quantify so sometimes. Bizarre, I like to look at things from 1,000 feet up, but I realize that the higher up I go, I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I just come here and I sit in my man room and I talk to people that do dope shit.
Yeah.
Like you.
So. Yes. I know. Like when it comes down to it, that's what we really have, you know. That's what we really have, and that's, you know, we have to keep all of those things, you know, and keep doing things like this and stuff like that, so that we have, so that we can make all of those things more, you know,
right.
and have more good stuff to look forward to.
I just love your positive attitude and your positive energy, and I think the more people that we have that can be like that, be positive and smiling, and even when we're talking about shit that isn't like, you know, the most fun shit to talk about, you can still approach it lightheartedly, laugh, you know, enjoy conversation, and maybe learn something. God knows if we just probably turned our ears up a little bit and our mouth down, me especially, probably learn a lot.
And be human about it, you know, because a lot of these, when we talk about systems and how they're problematic, a lot of their problems are because they've fine-tuned the system portion and taken the human portion out of it, you know?
Right.
And so we gotta talk about things and be human about it, and have the human aspect be, you know, thought about and respected, and can't just forget about that part of it just in order to make a system work better.
Exactly. I saw something. I saw it was like an internet meme or kind of a joke the other day, but it said, when our parents hit like 70 and 80 years old, we frantically start worrying about their mental decline. Their privileges start to get taken away. They might even have to live in assisted living or something like that. That's all true, and we all know that to be true. So why in the hell are those people almost exclusively running our country?
Right.
Like, why is it that the people if that was your dad, if Nancy Pelosi was your dad, you would be worried about dad's health, or Joe Biden was your mom. You'd be worried about his mental state. And it's not to say anything about whether or not you like their politics, or whether or not you are in their party, or you agree or disagree. All that shit be damned. I think the people that came up in the 50s probably aren't quite as well in touch with what's going on in 2020 at this point, you know?
Agreed.
And I mean, I'm not a big burn it all down guy, but I'm a big clean it all out guy.
Right,
you know, I really think that there could be, and the problem is we've let these people be in for so long that they're so deeply entrenched that nobody will say anything against them because they're worried about their political career. We're watching a documentary last night on like UFOs or something, and back when the Phoenix lights happened in 97, the mayor of Phoenix is one of the first things he says in the documentary is like, well, yeah, it was crazy. I mean, thousands of people saw it, but it was a very sensitive time for me politically, and I didn't want to throw kerosene on the fire. And it's like, did you just admit in a Showtime documentary, you asshole, that you made a personal decision over everybody in the city of fucking Phoenix?
Wow, that's pretty gross.
But that happens. It happens every goddamn day. And it happens because certain people have their thumb on other people. And that's the way our government works. Is like, oh, well, nothing gets to happen because that person doesn't want to lose votes, or this person doesn't want to lose campaign cash, you know? And
it reminds me of like Vikings, you know, because Vikings were all about their aspirations for, like, you know, being famous and, you know, being known as such great warriors. And like, so like a lot of their efforts are ego driven and welcomed in that way because it's part of the culture and it's part of what, and so it's funny how it reminds me of Vikings because it's all about, you know, it's all about the personal gain and the, you know, whatever you have to, whatever your aspirations are, like that takes precedence over the greater good. And like, fuck that. Like, I'm all for greater good over personal
Personal gain, yeah.
Yeah, personal gains.
Yeah, and
Personal gains.
it's funny to me too. That's like the it's almost an oxymoron when you hear multimillionaire politician. How is that the case? The president doesn't even make $1 million a year. What pockets are you digging around in?
Yeah, politicians should be the poor people.
Yeah, right. And you should be fighting for people like yourself, you know? But hey, it's like I said, it's so entrenched now. But the nice thing is I feel like this is the age where the information is kind of running rampant. Everybody knows now. It's not a well-kept secret anymore. And that's got to spur change somewhere down the line.
Right,
you know?
Right. I'm waiting for it.
I mean, fingers crossed. Like I said,
I'm waiting for it. I'm ready to be a soldier for. I'm not afraid of change, and I don't understand being afraid of change. Like, I think that when you've identified that there's problems, let's go into the solution-oriented route.
Right.
You know, like I'm ready to start talking about the solutions. You know, and so many people have vested interest for their own personal gains that they, are able to keep putting the kibosh on change and reform. And it's like, okay, how much longer are we going to allow people to do that? Like, we were pretty desperate for to change the way that things are going. So I used to cover just a moment of time.
About a decade ago, I covered Eugene City Council meetings a bunch when I was doing some news talk radio, and I was just producing news. I wasn't actually one of the personalities on that station, so I kind of got to go to these places and get a nice chunk of what was going on and give the facts of what happened right in front of me and not have to report that with any type of bias one way or the other. I just got to say, this is what happened at the meeting and this is how they voted, and personalities do what you want with that. And I remember sitting there, and this is back when Kitty Piercy was the mayor of Eugene.
I was going to ask, was this when we had a mayor who when we had Kitty Piercy?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It was her, and she used to, there was 8 sitting members on the council, and then her. So there was 9 people. And I watched her, and I say her, it's not all her fault. It's every single person on that council is equally to blame, because there were 4 of them that sat on the left side of the table, no joke, and 4 of them that sat on the right side of the table, and it was fucking 4-4 every single time. And I watched her play tiebreaker for every one, and it's like, if we're going to do this the right way, maybe you should vote first once in a while. Don't always be the tiebreaker. Maybe put yourself in with let somebody else because what I was watching her do is it didn't matter where the counselors voted. She was going to decide every single one of them because they were always deadlocked. And so,
wow,
are the constituents really being represented at that point?
Right, yeah.
It's one person. It was. I watched Eugene boil down to one person making these decisions, and not all of them were detrimental or crazy, but they're funding decisions. There was a lot of houselessness and homelessness stuff going on.
Right, yeah, and there's a reason why we have, constituents.
Exactly.
There's a reason why there's 9
why
people
they're there.
up there.
Yeah, there's a reason why they're there is because you and I marked next to their name in the little book, and it just, that was really when I started to when I got to see inside of a city government and watch it work. It's like, well, if this is happening here, this is happening everywhere, and this is no good, and I kind of started that whole, I was raised in a very conservative community, and I never felt like I was 100% at home there. I get some of the values. I think the rural communities are vastly underrepresented in a state, especially like Oregon.
Yeah.
I have some conservative things. Like, I don't think we need to keep shoving money up the government's ass because they're really inefficient with it. They take it and it goes away, and politicians get rich and nothing gets changed.
I agree with that.
Really don't like that.
No,
so
I'm done with politicians being rich.
Yeah.
Period.
But I also, socially, she's like, I don't have any trouble with gay marriage. I'm pro-choice. Like, I transgender rights. Like, I want everybody to just be happy. I don't care what you do with your genitals. And I really would rather that you don't let me know about it if you don't need to. If you really want to tell me, I'm fine. You can do that. But I'm not going to tell you what the wife and I got into on date night. That's kind of where I come from. But, I also thought, man, I don't like either. I got to that point where I was working in news radio, and I was like, I don't like either one of these sides of things. Like, these are not, I don't feel at home anywhere. And I hate the term politically homeless, too, because it's like, no, I have a very good idea of the things that I think would be right. I just don't think that either one of you represents me being, neither one of you really deserve my my signature on your side, and that's a tough place because I think there's a lot of people like that right now. I think there's a lot of people that feel very disenfranchised and jaded by their own people, if you want to put it that way.
Definitely, yeah.
But, I always hoped that I wouldn't let this show devolve into talking politics. I know it fucking bores people. But it's nice to be able to talk about it and just have a conversation where there's not like angst, and the things I'm saying, at least, I'm not afraid of the way you're going to react to them. Like, I'm just saying them because, and if you disagree, great. Maybe we'll both learn something,
Right, yeah. And I think that's good. I think that's a good way to be about it because the situation that we're in our country, in the world is just it's pretty fucked.
Yeah, it smells like shit.
It's pretty fucked.
Yeah. And I mean, what a great note to end the podcast on. I've had you here for over an hour now. I normally only ask for an hour. Once again, I want to plug the shows. September 10th at
Alluvium.
Okay, and the showtime for that?
Oh shit! I think it's 7:30. Oh my god!
Go check Jen's Facebook page.
Yes.
It'll be linked in the description of the podcast. And then the Savage Henry Comedy Festival, October 7th through the 9th.
Yep.
I imagine there's going to be hundreds of comedians at that.
Yes, yeah. There's so many good ones too. Sam Talent is going to be there. I mean, there's a lot of Eugene comedians going. Seth is going. Angie Bloomfield, Luke Miller, Tyler Jones.
Wow. Bunch of them. That's awesome.
And there might even be more than that. I don't know for sure who all's going, but yeah, there's gonna be so many. I think that there's some comedians from across the pond even.
Wow.
Like it's kind of a big deal. It's gonna be so fun.
That's awesome.
It's gonna be so fun. If you find yourself in Humboldt County, you should definitely check it out.
All right. Well, there you have it. Jen J, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad that you're healthy, that COVID was only just a scare and not an actual experience. And we will definitely do this again. Keep doing what you're doing on a comedy stage. You're welcome. You don't have to thank me. I should be the one thanking you. It was a lot of fun, and I really look forward to seeing where comedy goes for you.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time. It's the Man Room Podcast.
Thanks for listening. And post-transmission.